What's up, wild ones? Today we're looking out for our furry little friends. A friend of mine approached me, said her cat was having trouble jumping up into the bed and asked if I could figure something out. And so this is what we came up with. We just got a real simple little ladder, pretty stylish. Should be pretty nice and sturdy even if a human had to use it. But anyway, I'm gonna show you how I did it. So let's get to the build.
So the first thing I did was drew out my design and figured out all my measurements on a piece of paper. Once I had all the measurements, I took the wood to the chop saw and started cutting. I made sure to double up on all the cuts I was making because I'm building two identical frames. Once I had my pieces all cut, I could go ahead and start sorting out all the pieces. Once I had it laid out, I could go ahead and mark out all the pilot holes I was going to drill. I use my Craig pocket hole drill for two different reasons. The first one is it leaves a 3/8 hole that's the right size to fit a dowel in. And the second reason is because it's got a small little bit at the end that makes a great pilot hole. I wanted to make sure none of my wood split, so I used a smaller bit to drill through the hole I already had into the other piece of wood. Then I could just use a little bit of wood glue and screw the pieces together. You need to be mindful of the order you put your pieces together. If you put the long piece on first, it won't leave you enough room to get your drill in to screw the support for the treads on. Another thing to keep in mind is to make sure that all your pieces are nice and flat and square with each other when you're screwing them in. This design calls for building two of the exact same frame. Next, I went back to the chop saw and cut two of the exact same length of piece to use as my stairs. Next, I dry fit my steps together and got a measurement for the bottom supports. I had to drill these holes a little bit off center just to make sure I missed the screws that were already in the wood.
Now we can go ahead and fill in all of our screw holes using just a wooden dowel. So we're just gonna put a bunch of glue on there, put it in, and then cut it flush. We can just go ahead and sand that down after.
Make sure you don't fill in any holes that you still need to use to screw the steps on.
Now I'm just going to use my round over bit on my router, my palm router, just to give this a nice rounded over edge for the kitty. Now we can go ahead and sand our pieces from, I'm going to start at 120 and work my way up to 180 grit. Once it's all sanded, then we can go ahead and we're going to paint the base here, and then we're going to stain the stairs. Our pieces are all sanded. As you can tell, there's sawdust everywhere. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and wipe all the sawdust off,
You can also use shop vac. Got a brush attachment, works pretty good. And then we'll be ready to stain and paint. We are ready to paint. So I'm just gonna use a little interior plain white semi-gloss paint. Doesn't have to be fancy, you know. We like to keep it simple here. Just give it a little mix here. Don't need to teach you guys how to paint, you know what you're doing. You're capable. But for the sake of internet TV, we'll just go ahead and get a little on here. Okay, we got a first coat on of our frame. Now, while that's drying, now we'll just go ahead and stain up our steps. So, if you've seen my videos before, you know we gotta use a little bit of wood conditioner. That'll just help all the stain absorb evenly. And then we're just gonna hit it with a little bit of dark Lomite. Make sure to stir that up first. And then we'll just go ahead and wipe that on and let it soak in. So we got 2 coats of stain on this now. I think it looks pretty good, and we can just go ahead and use our spray varnish to give it a nice smooth coat. So we have 2 coats of varnish on now, but you might notice that it's a little bit rough. If you just take a little 220 grit sandpaper and just lightly go over it, it'll smooth it right out, and then we'll be good to put on our final coat.
Alright, wild ones, that's it. It's another super simple DIY build. We've got a little staircase for our furry little friends. So if you or one of your loved ones or grandma's got a cat or a dog that's having a little trouble, build them one of these. They'll be able to get up a lot easier and just nice. We gotta look after our pals, you know? Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Check me out on Instagram at WildRoseDIY, and we'll see you on the next build.